It all began with a simple letter. Not a public statement, not a press conference, but a quiet, personal request from Prince Harry to his father, King Charles III. It was a formal asker request to attend the King's Foundation event, a prestigious, royal gathering that was meant to showcase the monarchy's continued influence, power, and charitable efforts. To an outsider, it may have seemed like just another event in the royal calendar. But for Harry, this wasn't just about attending another charity dinner. It was the opportunity to re-enter the royal fold, to make a symbolic return and prove to the world and perhaps to himself that he could still represent the values of duty and service that the monarchy holds dear. For Harry, this event was far more than just a date on a calendar. It represented a chance to show that despite everything, despite the controversial interviews, the Netflix deals, the tele-memoir that had shocked the world, he could still be a part of the royal family. It was an opportunity for Harry to reclaim his place at the royal table, to remind everyone of his heritage, and to demonstrate that despite everything that had transpired, he was still a proud member of the royal family. But what did he get in return? Silence. No warm response, no invitation, no Zoom call, no email with an apology or even a suggestion of compromise. To silence. When the official response came, it was swift and unapologetic. Harry's request to attend the King's Foundation event was firmly rejected, and this was no accident or oversight. According to royal insiders, it wasn't a case of poor scheduling or some lost email. This decision was deliberate, calculated, and with purpose. No invitation was sent, no seat was reserved for him, not even the courtesy of a back row position in the audience. And just like that, it became clear the monarchy wasn't just moving forward, it was moving on, and it was moving on without Harry. It was a brutal message, one that wasn't just felt by Harry but was also felt by the public. This rejection wasn't a quiet matter. It was loud, it was public, and it was intentional. Everyone took notice of the royal snub, especially when the guest list was published. Prince William, Princess Anne, Queen Camilla, and even non-working royals like Zara Tindall were on that list. Celebrities such as David Beckham and Kate Winslet made the cut too, but Harry's name was conspicuously absent. And as the public read the list, they understood the unspoken message. Harry no longer belonged. Inside the walls of Buckingham Palace, word spread quickly. Royal aides reportedly shared their thoughts, claiming that the king saw no reason to reward betrayal with visibility. For those who had been close to Harry over the years, it was a sharp reminder of just how far he had fallen in the eyes of the monarchy. It wasn't just about his absence from one event, it was about everything that had led to this moment. The interviews, the constant media commentary, the book deals, and, most of all, the attacks on his own family. The trust that Harry once had with the royal family had eroded over time, and now there was nothing left but a cold distance. But what made this rejection even more painful for Harry was the public nature of it. He had been counting on this event to re-enter the royal circle, to show that despite his departure, he still valued the duties and traditions that the monarchy stood for. But in reality, the palace wasn't buying it. King Charles made it clear that the royal family's future couldn't be tied to someone who had so thoroughly publicly aired their grievances. Harry no doubt had hoped this event would mark his comeback. This wasn't just a family dinner. This was a symbolic event that would allow him to rebuild bridges, to re-establish his place in the royal family, and to show the world that he still had a role to play in shaping the monarchy's future. But instead, his rejection sent a very different message to both him and the public. Harry is no longer a part of the royal family's narrative. Meanwhile, Meghan Markle, Harry's wife and the woman who had once been by his side through all of the royal drama, remained entirely silent about the matter. According to sources close to the couple, Meghan did not support Harry's request to attend the royal event. She didn't co-sign the letter, and she didn't show any interest in stepping into this family drama. Her absence was almost deafening, and many close to her began speculating that Meghan was focusing on her own ventures in California, completely distancing herself from the situation. Her detachment raised questions. Was Meghan already moving on from the royal family, while Harry was still holding on to an image of reconciliation that was no longer realistic? Harry's reaction to this rejection was intense. No doubt, it must have stung for a man who had grown up with royal blood in his veins, who had walked those halls as a future leader of the monarchy. But now, those very halls had shut their doors. To him, Harry had hoped for some kind of re-entry, some sign that he could still make a difference. But what he received instead was a shocking reminder that the royal family had moved on without him. Now, there's speculation that Meghan's absence from the situation might be more strategic than it appears. Could it be that she has already accepted that their royal chapter is over, and Harry is still in denial? Meghan's silence only fuels this speculation. With Harry trying to pick up the pieces of his royal ties, Meghan seems to be focused solely on her own career, leaving Harry to deal with the consequences of his actions. As for Harry, the public perception of him is rapidly shifting. While he once had the public's sympathy for wanting to break free from royal constraints, the constant media exposure, the documentary deals, and the repeated commentary on family matters have begun to wear thin. Even his most loyal supporters are beginning to question his choices. The public isn't as forgiving as it once was, and with every new headline, Harry's image is being reshaped in a way he probably never imagined. Hollywood, which Harry once thought would be his safe haven, is quietly distancing itself from him and Meghan. Deals are drying up, and their once untouchable celebrity status is beginning to fade. The once glamorous idea of stepping away from royal duties to find freedom is losing its shine, and now Harry is facing the harsh reality that without his royal ties, he no longer holds the same power or influence he once did. As the days go by, the distance between Harry and the royal family grows wider. The silence from the monarchy is becoming more deafening, with Meghan focusing on her own brand and Harry's royal connections fading. It seems that the door to the royal family is finally closed for good. Harry must now find a way to navigate this new chapter of his life, but it won't be easy. The road ahead seems more uncertain than ever, and with every new snub, it's clear that Harry's royal past is becoming more distant. As Harry grapples with the cold rejection from King Charles, the question now becomes, what's next for him? The doors of the royal family seem to be closing one by one, and with every decision made by the monarchy, Harry's place in the royal family becomes more uncertain. For a man who once seemed destined for a prominent role in the future of the British monarchy, this snub is a wake-up call, a stark realization that the family he once knew is no longer a part of his life. But the more pressing issue for Harry is his public image. For years, he built his identity on being a member of the royal family, even as he sought freedom from its constraints. But now that his royal ties are becoming increasingly irrelevant, what does Harry have left to offer? Without the power, the titles, and the legacy that once made him a prominent figure, Harry is left to redefine his public persona in the past. He had used his royal status to gain influence, speaking out on issues like mental health, veterans' rights, and charitable causes. But now, as his connection to the monarchy weakens, his ability to wield influence is fading. The public's perception of him has shifted. What was once seen as a rebellious but noble act of stepping away from royal duties is now being viewed by many as self-serving and filled with contradictions. One of the most telling aspects of this ongoing saga is the stark contrast between Harry's ambitions and the reality of the royal family's expectations. For the monarchy, the values of duty, loyalty, and service are paramount, but for Harry, these values seem to have taken a back seat to his desire for freedom and individuality. The monarchy has drawn a line in the sand, and it's clear that Harry has crossed it. The once promising future he envisioned for himself outside the royal family is now clouded with doubt. The glitzy world of Hollywood that he and Meghan once believed would be their sanctuary is not offering the same opportunities they imagined. Meanwhile, Meghan Markle, who was once part of this journey, seems to have moved on in her own way. Her focus has shifted toward her business ventures and public persona, seemingly distancing herself from the ongoing drama between Harry and the royal family. Some insiders suggest that Meghan has already accepted the fact that the royal family chapter is closed for good, while Harry is still holding on to the hope of some sort of reconciliation. This disconnect between them only deepens the divide that already exists within their marriage. At the same time, the royal family seems to be moving on just fine without Harry. The recent rejection of his request to attend the King's Foundation event is part of a larger paterno-conscious decision to move forward without him. Even Prince William, who once had a close relationship with his brother, is said to have distanced himself from Harry, with many royal insiders suggesting that the rift between the two brothers is now irreparable. Despite the efforts from Harry and Meghan to build their own platform in Hollywood and the business world, the reality is becoming clear. Their status as former royals may not carry the same weight it once did. As major platforms like Spotify and Netflix slowly back away from their deals, the Sussexes' media empire begins to lose momentum. The deals they once secured with such fanfare are starting to feel less impactful, and their public appeal was beginning to dwindle. And it's not just Hollywood that's turning its back on Harry and Meghan. Public opinion is also shifting. What once was seen as a brave move by the Sussexes to escape the confines of royal life is now being seen by many as a calculated attempt to capitalize on their royal connections. People are growing tired of the constant media cycle surrounding the couple, and the sympathy they once had from the public is wearing thin. Harry's ongoing grievances are now beginning to feel like a never-ending saga of complaints, and the more he speaks out, the more people grow weary of the drama. Harry's situation is further complicated by the fact that his royal titles are still very much a part of his public identity. The Prince Harry title, while still carrying some weight, is becoming increasingly irrelevant. In fact, there have been growing discussions behind the scenes about whether Harry's remaining titles should be reviewed or even revoked. This conversation is still in its early stages, but with Harry's continued criticism of the royal family and his actions over the past few years, it seems like a real possibility. The monarchy has already started to distance itself from Harry, and revoking his titles would be the final step in severing the ties completely. The truth is, Harry's path forward is uncertain, and the public is watching closely. The royal family has made its stance clear: Harry is no longer part of the future of the monarchy. Whether he likes it or not, Harry is now facing the harsh reality that his connection to the royal family is growing weaker with each passing day. The world is watching as Harry tries to navigate this new chapter in his life, but with every move, the stakes get higher, and the risks of losing relevance grow stronger. For now, Harry has a choice to make. He can continue to try and hold on to a past that no longer exists, or he can forge a new path, one that's independent of the royal family's shadow. The problem, however, is that Harry's entire public identity was built around his royal status. Without that connection, he risks becoming a tabloid figure, a part of a story that people have grown tired of reading. As the clock ticks, the world waits to see what Harry's next move will be. Will he finally accept that his royal chapter is closed, or will he continue to chase after a title that no longer holds the same power? The story of Prince Harry and the royal family may be far from over, but with every step, Harry is getting further from the life he once knew.